it's supposed to feel.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9LIVE. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have Jim Rosati. Jim, what's up, my guy?
What's going on? It's been a good relaxing off day, I feel like.
Sure. I feel like I've been going every which direction today and running around and haven't sat down yet. So it's been relaxing in the sense of pirate stuff. Personally, it hasn't been for me. But yeah, it's been relaxing as far as pirate stuff. It's also
I got off work. I finished up my first season of as head coach of Wyoming on NCAA football. So yeah, like I'm good. Cracked
I'm
open
sure
an energy drink. We're ready to roll.
I'll tell you this though. I am making sure I find one day, which isn't going to be Saturday. Well, actually, it could be Saturday because the game's really, really late and I have the post game. Saturday's my day. My wife works. Saturday's my day where I'm going to sit down and not do anything and finally watch Cobra Kai. I'll say that much.
All right, that'll be fun.
Yes.
You're a big fan of that show. I haven't watched any of it.
It is
that's on
terribly
me.
amazing. That's the best way I can describe it. It's
Yeah.
just so awful and cheesy that it's just so good. But anyway,
You know what else is so awful and cheesy? That is
This
just so
show.
good. That and just like nonstop mock trades being thrown out by every single person. So we were like, you know what? We might as well just join the fray.
Of course.
Let's see what we got. Who do we
I
want?
heard you have
Yeah, I've got an 11 slide. It's a Google slide deck, right? So it's a slide deck, no PowerPoint. But yeah, I'm excited to talk some trade targets, maybe even throw out some mock trades. See how we do.
I'm ready for this. Because, Jim, the trade deadline is less than a week away. Finally, I feel like we've been talking about this trade deadline for about 2.5 months now, because if there's anything the Pirates have needed for 2.5 months, it's a trade. And it's about time. And something's going to happen. We don't know what exactly, but something will happen. Damn it, Jim. I hope on Tuesday when we have our trade deadline episode, we're talking good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the Pirates have put themselves in a position that they should be acquiring some players in the next 5 days. So it's gonna be fun. Maybe an emergency podcast on the horizon at some point.
Right. Well, again, like on Tuesday, we will have a trade deadline special. Like that's for sure. Assuming trades happen that day. But I am going to assume it. I know there's going to be a lot of people that feel like, oh, it's the Pirates. They're not going to do anything, blah, 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 blah. I feel fully confident they're going to do something. The magnitude of what that something is, that'll be decided. But like they're absolutely doing something. And, before we get any further into this, Jim, I also just want to let you know, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind in one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. But yeah, Jim, I really feel like they are going to do two things. I truly feel like they're going to buy and sell. And I say that in a way of it's going to be wise that they do it that way.
Maybe. I could see it. I mean, I could see both. I could see both. If it were me, the only person right now that I would be shopping is Martin Perez.
Same.
That's it. And maybe if somebody wants to take, one of Perez or Marco off your hands, but I think Perez being the one I would rather not have. I'm not like you asked me a week or two ago, and I would have said, you know what, go ahead and trade Chapman, and we can replace him with something else that's maybe not as sexy from a stuff standpoint. That's maybe not going to cost us as much, and we can still upgrade either another position or the farm. I'm now leaning more towards you keep Chapman around, and like I said, we'll get into kind of what all I want, but I've kind of targeted four things, four positions that I think the Pirates need to address in some capacity. So I'm excited to get into that. And look who joined the show. It's about time.
Let me tell you, the computer almost got thrown out the bathwater.
Once again, I was taking the heat for Tyler today.
Hey, this one's on me.
Wasn't
Hand up.
me haggling with the bartender about my tab. Nope.
It's me haggling with the computer, not so tech savvy. Computer wasn't working, camera wasn't working, but I'm here interrupting. Continue.
No, but there's been a lot of trade rumors in the last couple of days. You've got radio hosts just shooting out random stuff and people throwing mock trades together. It's some of it's fun, some of it is complete nonsense, but yeah, it's a fun time of the year when you get to talk about improving your team at this stage. So we haven't been in this position in a while. When was the last trade deadline that we were talking about buying? I mean, it was 2018,
Let's not go there.
right? So it's been a bit, right? The last time we had this happen to us, it was a scarring experience. It scarred of us all for life. So you got to imagine it can't get worse than that, right? Right?
I don't need a Barney Stinson challenge accepted moment right now.
I'm just excited for the slideshow.
I'll say this: it's not as in depth as Gymalytics, right?
Okay.
Gymalytics was just Gymalytics was a lot of work. This was some work, but it was kind of more just me. I wasn't copying other people's work and stuff.
Compiling, not copying.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 8 minutes. We've kind of talked a little bit in broad scale. Let's kind of dive into this because, I mean, as usual, the Pirates are very tight-lipped about things. We have no idea what they're going to do, what's going on. You hear from different people, different sources on names that have been mentioned. But again, this time of the year, every team has basically mentioned every name in baseball. So like that carries very little weight to me. What do you guys want to see? Let's start with Tyler.
Me?
Yeah.
Let's pick on the new guy, right?
I'm holding off on this gym spreadsheet for as long as I can. This PowerPoint, whatever.
No, I get that. I honest to God get that. If I think it's pretty simple here, right? You just want a bat. And I think we're at the point where we're just begging for any bat possible, even one that might just be league average, because league average is a major upgrade on this team right now. I know we're not like the biggest fans of Brent Rooker, but the bat just plays, man. And it's a right-handed bat that you can slide in between. And Jim's mentioned it here, I think, this week when we were talking about Nick Gonzalez hitting cleanup. Brent Rooker can just slide into that 4 spot, hit in between a couple lefties. Because you've got O'Neill hitting 3rd at this point with the lineup. You've got Rowdy hitting 5th. You got to be able to split them up. Brent Rooker's a guy that really does fit in the lineup, not so much defensively, obviously, and you can just look at Twitter and see all the opinions on that, but the bat just plays, man. The strikeouts are concerning, obviously. You don't want to add more strikeouts to this lineup, but you got to add more home runs somehow, and strikeouts are going to come with that. I think Brent Rooker's a good fit here.
I would welcome Brent Rooker. I would welcome him with open arms. I don't really necessarily care that he's not that great of a defender. Well, I don't. That's actually not being as harsh as he probably is. He's an awful defender. Let's kind of get that out of the way. So the bat is good enough though that you live with it. And let's be honest. Like Andrew McCutchen gets a day off every series, anyways, right? So Rooker could still get plenty of DH time. You could even throw Kutch in the outfield once a week, right? If you wanted to kind of keep Rooker a little fresh and keep Kutch fresh too. But you get him, you put him in right field. The bat's going to play, and it's going to play really nice. Now, here's the thing. I don't. First off, Brent Rooker's going to cost. I think Brent Rooker's going to cost quite a bit. Hitters with OPSs over 900 don't just grow on trees. He's one of the best power hitters in the majors right now. He has a ton of control remaining, so that's another thing. Like it's this year, but then another 3 years of Brent Rooker. So you're looking at one. It's going to cost quite a bit for this guy, and he's rather limited outside the ability to basically just hit the ball for power, right? The other thing is, what is Oakland's, like, why would Oakland trade him? Oh, if you're Oakland and you're thinking like, all right, we're about to move to Vegas in a few years. We need people to be on that team who would draw crowds. Brent Rooker's one of them, and Brent Rooker's not costing them anything right now. Like he's making league minimum. He's going to be in his first year of arbitration next year. Like the A's want cheap players, right? And Brent Rooker is a cheap player right now. And I just feel like they would have to be blown away to deal Brent Rooker. If you can get him and you can get him for a fair price, absolutely. He upgrades the lineup 100%. I'm in for it. I just think there are better fits for the Pirates right now.
Let me add in something just real quick. Why do the A's trade him this year? And for the people, and again, like I'm not their mouthpiece. I don't know if they were going to or not. It could be very fair that he's going to be in a next Wednesday, as said in the comments. But if you want the reason why they do, it's because he has 3 years of control left. It's because he's 29 years old. Why are they going to trade this guy as they're going into, Las Vegas in a few years? Because by the time they're in Vegas, that's the year that he's going to get traded. Like they're not extending Rooker. You know what I mean? Like you trade him now because that way the pieces that you get for Rooker are the pieces that are walking into that Las Vegas stadium to be the new face of the franchise, or part of the face of the franchise. That's why you trade Rooker now. That's just my counterpoint to the, why do you not trade Rooker? He's not going to go anywhere. This is the ideal time to do it. He is 29. He's at his peak value with 3 years left of control. You do it now, get the most you can. So that way you walk into Vegas as we talk about the young Bucks, the young A's, right? There you go. This is what you're going to sell the team to. You're not going to sell Las Vegas to Rooker and then trade him in that July because you're not extending him and he's 32 years old, So that's why. But I'm 100% with you too, Jim. Like I would welcome, like if the Pirates trade for Rooker, I am not going to sit here and say, this was terrible. His defense is bad. No, no, no. What I am saying though, is I don't like the fit because of the defense with Reynolds, because the defense with Swinsky. They're the top. Reynolds is by outs and average, by defensive run save, like most metrics you look at, the worst defender in baseball. Jack Swinsky's a bottom 10. And if you add Rooker, he's worse than Reynolds. So you're looking at the bottom 8 defenders in baseball in your outfield. So I feel like if you get a Rooker, you also have to get a center fielder who can play defense and hit the ball to actually give you an upgrade from Swinsky and Michael A. Taylor. So like that's what it presents to me. Rooker's going to cost you a lot. And if you do so, you also have to get a center fielder where I feel like if you just almost get, Tyler's talking about a league average center fielder and a league average right fielder, it's not going to cost you a ton. You upgrade both places and you're able to upgrade it probably about the same without making as much of a an impact to your farm system, I guess, if that makes sense. Like what it's going to cost you to get Rooker is not going to be worth the return where you can spend the same capital and probably get a better fit, better player. That's just not out there.
So I think looking at it all, I don't know if there's a guy out there that doesn't have warts that the Pirates could acquire at this point. All of them have their own sort of problems. Rooker, for example, we talk about the defense, and I think you're looking at a guy that probably will have to move to first base to remain at least usable on your roster here at some point. And I think we have kind of sort of hinted at the same situation with Brian Reynolds. Like at some point, you're not going to be able to continue to play him in the outfield. If you have a Brent Rooker and you have a Brian Reynolds, that makes it a little bit difficult. So I understand there being some problems with acquiring him there. The right-handed power bat, though, there aren't many out there. I don't think he's going to be that expensive. But, I mean, maybe he is. Maybe I'm wrong there. I just love the prospect of having that right-handed power bat to slide into this lineup with the amount of lefty bats that they have.
I think there's a better fit
That's
as far
fair.
as a right-handed power bat that plays the same position.
That's fair.
Somebody's
Just saying.
trying to get his PowerPoint up right now. Go ahead, Jim. I know you're
Do we want to?
anxious.
Well, I mean, it's like a whole breakdown. Like it's. Yeah. Do we want to do it?
Let's do it because we can. I feel like we can play.
This
off
can
because none
this
of
can
us
bring up a lot. Yeah.
We're going to make fun
Well,
of
I'll
you,
speak for
but
myself. I don't know if Tyler has. I didn't look at it. I know you shared it with us. I didn't look at it.
Well,
sure
you should have
did.
looked at it. You should have looked at it. So,
I did.
all right, here we go.
I put
Jim's
way
trade
too
targets.
much effort into this.
I put way too much effort into this. All right. So I wanted to kind of start with this. I think these are the areas where when you're looking at what to do this trade deadline, you've got to kind of shift your focus to it's no longer like what's best for the players' development that are here in the organization. It's what's best for the Pirates winning games right now, right? So when we do something and it's going to say, hey, oh, this is going to mess up Jared Triolo's development, or this is going to mess up Jack Swinski's development. I don't care. I don't care. Like I want to win baseball games, and those guys aren't helping us win baseball games. So right now, the Pirates offense, they're 13th in the National League. This is based on weighted runs created plus, 13th in the National League. Center field in particular, 14th. Right field, 12th. Third base, 15th. Now that third base, a lot of that is Hayes, obviously, but a lot of that is Triolo too, right? And if you look at the other positions around the infield, they're not really all that great either. Like shortstop, when Cruz doesn't play, is terrible. Second base is not that great either. So when it comes to another person, that's why here's what I want. I want a center fielder. I want a right fielder. And I want a utility infielder that can basically bump Triolo off this roster and upgrade that spot. Pitching wise, starting pitchers, they're good. If you're going to deal anybody off the major league team, it's going to come out of that group. And I think that's going to be either Perez or Gonzalez. Bullpen, a little shaky. They've been better as of late, but I think there's room for improvement there, in particular from the left side for left-handed pitching. You've got to roll this Chapman, but that's it. Ryan Barucki has been on rehab for like 90 days, I feel like. So like there's clearly something going on there that the Pirates don't feel comfortable activating him, right? So I'd like to get a little bit more help left-handed pitching wise in the bullpen. All right. Next slide, please.
Look, before you move on forward,
Yeah.
let me add something in because there was a comment because I get to like this is year long. I do want to emphasize because someone put here like the second best ERA in like the last 2 months, whatever. I've been using a lot of like since June 1st numbers because really I don't know why. I just like that. It's a nice point. It's kind of recent. It's when things have changed, when Skeen's now here, Gonzalez, whatever. But like also that bullpen since June 1st, though, does have the 13th best ERA in baseball. So like it's still, I want to add here, it's still kind of middle of the pack. of recent also.
Yep. AJ Puck was just traded to the Diamondbacks, by the way.
Oh, so trades are happening.
Yeah.
Miami's wheeling
So
and dealing.
AJ Puck to the Diamondbacks, who the Pirates play 6 times in the next 9 games. So just an FYI there. But all right, so let's focus on, I think the main the number one thing I want to upgrade is center field. Jazz is the guy. Like, it's Jazz, right? Like, he's such a good fit. He plays the position well. He hits the ball. He hits for power. He's a good base runner. He can steal you some bases. You can even play him at second base if you need him to, but I think Jazz is the guy. And you see the 2 there next to his name. It means that he's still got 2 more years, 2 more years on his contract, of team control after this. So like he's the guy. He's the number one target for this team going into this trade deadline. He helps solve a huge glaring need. And yeah, there's some blue on that Baseball Savant page, but look at the top where it says value, right? It's mostly red, right? So he's a good player, and he plays a premium position. You don't need to be a great hitter to be a pretty good center fielder, and he can field, he can run, and he can hit the ball just fine. So Jazz is my number one guy. Just kind of go through this list too. Jose Siri is another guy who I think I'd be cool with getting. Jose Siri is essentially what we hoped Michael A. Taylor would have been this year, if we're being honest. Like, if you look at Jose Siri's page and you just replace his name with Michael A. Taylor, you would have been like, cool. That's not a bad season for Michael A. Taylor. So like he's kind of on that list too. The third and fourth choices there are kind of more. I don't think they're going to happen. I don't think JJ Bleday is going to happen. I don't think there's any reason for the A's to give up JJ Bleday. He's got 4 more years of team control. He's super cheap. He's good. He seems to be figuring out. Seems to be the kind of guy the A's want to hold on to. Luis Robert, I think, is just going to cost too much. So I have him down there too. But Jazz is the guy. Jazz is the guy for center field. You've got to upgrade that position. There's no one internally who can play it. I don't feel comfortable putting anybody on the roster in center field in a game that you need to win. So yeah, Jazz is the guy.
I guess my question here would be, well, let me start with Jose Siri here. Why would the Rays trade him? Because you just mentioned the team control. Siri has a lot of it. And I know that Rays are occasionally
That's just what the Rays do. Yeah.
They are insane with what they do. And truthfully, I might be more comfortable with Siri than I am Jazz, to be honest. Maybe I'm crazy here.
Wait, you of all people, Mr.
Maybe
I hate the strikeout?
Jazz strikes out a bunch too.
Nowhere near what Siri does.
Yeah, they both strike out a lot. At that point,
Siri strikes out a lot.
But what I actually wanted to ask Jim here is, because we were on with Jason, and Jason was kind of shying away from Jason Mackey, I should say. He was shying away from Jazz Chisholm. I think maybe because a little bit of the personality of Jazz. Donardo wasn't on that episode. I'm curious, just both of your opinions on his fit in the clubhouse.
I'll say this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He's a personality for sure. So, and when it comes to clubhouses, like, yeah, I mean, I do follow the Marlins, slightly more than most MLB teams. I can't speak so much as most people can't. I know there's a lot. I mean, mostly everyone saw the video of him dumping the Gatorade bath on Jessica. I think Blaylock is what her name is. I think that's her. But the Marlins. Everyone saw that. Yeah, it's kind of a dick move. But honestly, like, Jazz has so much swag, so much personality. And I feel like with this clubhouse, there's people that can definitely bond with. And I also feel like there could be people that he definitely doesn't bond with. So I don't know. And that's a good point of view. I mean, you don't want to mess up a clubhouse, right? I don't know. That's going to be an answer for them to figure out. But like, I love Jazz. like as the person, as the player. I think he's awesome. And you know what? As Rob said here, yeah, they signed Grandal, who literally fought people. So if they had no problem signing Grandal, and he's still playing, there you go.
They signed Domingo Herman too, who
They send a lot of people. Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah.
So
And they kept G1 Bay.
I think here's my thing with that. First off, I've never really heard a actual like I've never heard anything all that bad about Jazz Chisholm. Like I think there's some fans who don't like him, but like I've never heard a teammate come out and say like I don't like Jazz. I don't think I've ever heard that. And then secondly too, if you're winning, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your personality is. If you're winning games, everybody's gonna have fun. And they're gonna like you around the clubhouse. And what Jazz Chisholm does is he basically doubles your offensive output from the center field position. And that's not even like being hyperbole. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggerating. He doubles your offensive output out of the position. So quite frankly, I don't care. I don't care about the other stuff. He's the best fit for this team and how it's constructed. And he would make the most impact out of anyone acquired at this deadline. What do you guys think about other center? I mean, he's the only center fielder I think who's really available and moves the needle at all.
No, I think you're right on that.
Well,
he really is the only center fielder available that kind of is worth anything at this point. I don't know how I feel about him yet. I would take him, obviously, because he's an obvious upgrade. You're getting a multiple win player with him. I just don't know long term with Jazz how I feel about the bat because he's a league average hitter. It's what he is. You get some pop out of it. It's a guy that can run, but I don't know, man. Like at that point, I almost wonder if you're better off going the rental route and maybe getting a little bit creative in center field, which I don't love, but I don't really know if I love any of the options right now.
So let me throw something out there. Sticking with Jazz, I think it's all fair, but I also think like getting him out of Marlins Park, put him in PNC, that lefty swing, that wall there, he can play very well with, I think, too. The speed, power combination he has. I mean, that's one thing this team maybe getting a little more aggressive recently, but now you're adding someone else who can give you 30 stolen bases a season easily. I think he's a catalyst as well. So, the defense out there, and you saw the 2 diving catches today. The offense he gives you, for a center fielder, being league average almost speaks quite a lot. I mean, think about what we're talking about Brian Reynolds, because he's a center fielder, how valuable he is. And that's what Jazz is. He's an above average offensive center fielder, which is light years ahead of a lot of center fielders. But I do want to throw this name out there. I know, Jim, you've talked about it a little bit as well. You said it'd be your dream person. And I think this checks off all the boxes as well, like with the Jazz thing. But he's probably less available, obviously, because he has more years of control with the Blue Jays. But like Dalton Varsho, I think is the only. If you're talking about center fielders, to me, it's Jazz or Varsho, because you want someone who's going to be good defensively, because we talk about the issues with the defense in the outfield, right? Varsho's the best defender in the outfield as far as the outfield, period, let alone center field. Great defender. He's got the bat. He also has the speed power combination. Again, he's more controllable. He'll cost more. I don't know if the Blue Jays are even ready to, let him go, but it seems like they're entertaining trade offers. And again, the Ben Cherington Toronto connection. I don't know if that's someone he wants to. Maybe it's like, I like Varsho. I want him. Maybe that's the guy he'll spend a little bit to go after and get if he can. But like, that's also the guy I entertain. And you talk about Jazz because of the second base combination. I know Varsho hasn't played it since 2022, but he has been a catcher in the past. And I feel like that could maybe ease you off of, hey, we're keeping Yasmani Grandal because we lack this depth at catcher. And maybe that can entice you to say, like, you know what, let's finally move on from him. Let's bring up my boy, Jason DeLay. And that way you have like an emergency catcher in Varsho potentially. And I don't know if they're going to go that route, but that entices me a little bit. You know what? He can catch. He has caught. Now I have, Bart, Delay, Henry in AAA, and Varsho who can come in for an emergency if I need or whatnot.
Yeah. I like Varsho a lot too. I didn't include him on here because I really don't think he'd be available. And the bat isn't as enticing. Just the overall skill set isn't as enticing as Jazz. Some comments, and I just want to address here. There's a bunch of comments in here. Cedric Mullins was brought up. I would take Cedric Mullins. He's got one more year of control after this year, but again, he's not a needle mover. Like his offensive output has just plummeted this last year or two. He just doesn't really seem like a good hitter anymore. And then I'm also seeing Ian Happ stuff. Guys, Ian Happ's not happening. He has 2 more years left on a contract where he's making $20.3 million per year. The Pirates aren't bringing that on. I don't think the Cubs are going to do that either. Like they extended him. He's got a no trade clause. I don't know if the Pirates are in it, but Ian Happ isn't happening. So yeah, that's also not happening. Brenton Doyle, also a name people are throwing out in the comments, also not happening. The Rockies have 4 more years of team control for Brenton Doyle. There's no reason to trade him. That's just he's also going to cost an insane amount if you want to go after Doyle. So yeah, just addressing some comments there. But all names I would take. I think center field is the number 1 target, and there's really only one guy that makes sense. And it's Jazz.
I don't think you're wrong though. Like I don't think you're wrong at all about Jazz being the main option here in center field. He does fill a lot of holes here. It's just I don't know. There's something here holding me back. I do like Jazz. It's just I don't know, man. Like it just feels like this is going to go wrong at some point if they go Jazz.
Here's the thing too. Jazz has enough team control, and he's talented enough that if you want to if you just want to trade Jazz again, you can. Like he's got team control to go. Like you're gonna have him for another 2 years. But like he's a good player. Like he's a good player, and you need to get good players. He's the best available option for center field, and that is your main weakness right now.
You know what Jim and Nardo, you know what it is? It's the fact that he is just wildly talented and still very raw. And I feel like I've been burned by that by the Pittsburgh Pirates so many times.
Honestly, from he's extremely talented. He's sort of like another O'Neal Cruz in terms of like pure talent level. And yeah, he hasn't really put it all together yet, but maybe that's also a good thing. And that like a lot of times really talented players put things together at age 27 and 28.
Yeah.
Like Jazz's best years may be ahead of him.
Sorry, I'm picking something up here that I want to add, but get the information for. Before I do that, I want to add here too. Like, so we're talking about the center fielders. What everyone talked about with Rooker, that's what Blade is. That's why Blade is not going to get traded. Rooker, I feel not confident, but like that's the guy I want to trade peak value. Blade is their Brian Reynolds. Like that's the guy who has the years of control. That's the guy maybe you look to extend because he's also younger. That's the one that you're opening up in Vegas. I present to you JJ Blade, the face of the Oakland A's. So that's why I feel like he's not getting moved. I'm also not so much of a JJ Blade believer, not for the price that it's going to cost to get him. But yeah, so like JJ Blade to me is just not happening. Definitely more than the Rooker trade. So what I'm going to say about Jazz, I think a lot of stuff too is like injuries. He had like 2 seasons because of injuries. He wasn't there. So like you look at the numbers, it's not great. It hasn't got the notoriety in a sense, but like in the past, since 2022, which is 1,000 plate appearances, like 46 home runs, 55 stolen bases. Like the guy's talented. So like I'm with Jim too. I do think the best is coming. I want that to be with the Pirates.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, he's potentially like he's a 35 guy potentially.
Yeah. And especially you put him in a park that just fits his swing a lot better. Maybe he starts hitting a few more balls over the fence.
Yeah. So again, that's what really entices me about Jazz. The power speed combination in center field with good enough defense. Absolutely. I'm all in for him.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to right field?
Sure.
Top 3 options are I would be all very, very happy with. So right field, I think there are 3 guys you can go out there and they are awesome for this lineup. One is a rental, Jesse Winker from the Washington Nationals, having an outstanding season, 11 homers. He's got an 801 OPS. He also he fits like the Pirates. Like Andy Haynes would love this guy. The dude walks a ton. He doesn't swing at balls. He's been really good this year. He can play right field. Again, being a rental, he would probably not cost all that much. He's you're paying for 2 months of Jesse Winker. And again, huge upgrade to right field. Next option, Randy Arozarena. You mentioned a righty bat, Tyler, and Rooker fits that mold. I think Arozarena is a better fit for this team. Like if you're going to go a controllable righty bat who can hit the ball, can play defense, Arozarena is that guy. Rooker just
By the way,
homering it.
apparently Rooker just hit another home run as we speak.
Arozarena's got 2 more years of control after this. Rooker's got 3. Arozarena, you just have more comfort in the field. Arozarena's played in the postseason, so when you do get there, like you know that he's done it plenty of times, and he's been really good in those moments. So any 3 of those, Winker, Arozarena, Rooker, I'm good with. I'd actually be thrilled with. I think Rooker is probably the easiest target because of the just it's 2 months, right? You're paying for 2 months. But those other 2, I would love. Next tier, I've got Tommy Pham in there. Again, another rental. Probably wouldn't cost too much. Down below that, a couple other rentals, Mark Hanna, Lane Thomas. I would be okay getting either of them. Like they're an upgrade over the current option. But if you can get someone in that top level, Winker, Arozarena, or Rooker, or Tommy Pham, that's going to make me a little bit happier. So, what are your? This is corner outfield. You could look at this as right field or left field, and you can move Reynolds to right field if you want. But as far as corner outfielders go, this is kind of my list of guys I would look at.
I think the comment section wants to ask you why Taylor Ward's not anywhere to be seen here. Is he coming up or?
No, Taylor Ward is not anywhere to be
Okay.
seen, actually.
Well,
and
before
honestly, because he's
Go
been bad. He's been pretty bad lately. Like
fair enough.
he's been
Yeah,
awful.
numbers. He has
like
a
the last 2 months.
66 weighted runs created plus since June 1st.
Yeah, he's been bad.
Well, Denardo, you talked about the swag of Jazz, right?
Yes.
I think Randy is the type of guy with that swag that you want, if that makes sense.
It does.
Because Randy seems like a good clubhouse guy. He's got that Josh Palacios vibe, just related to the Pirates, but he's good at baseball. Randy would be a great fit, in my opinion.
Just because you said it to me, like I agree. There's 2 different types of swags. There's 2 different type of personalities in the sense. I enjoy both of them, but I feel like yes, like clubhouse wise, I feel like Randy would probably vibe with more players than Jazz. I can understand why Jazz can be polarizing. He has some antics that rub off the wrong way on some people. Where Randy, like Palacios, is just a vibe guy that everyone seems to enjoy when he does his antics and such. But I'm with you, man. Like Randy Arozarena, I think would be awesome.
Yeah. Also, you have just the entire clutch gene that he's shown throughout his career. Also, just former Cardinal, it'd be great to have one of those that just lights them up.
Yes.
Randy actually might be my number one target. I might have been wrong with Brent Rooker. Give me Randy.
Again, like that, when you're talking a righty bat who can play corner outfield, the years of control means like he's still going to cost something, but you could probably get him. You would have to give up you'd probably have to give up a Harrington type guy for Randy Rosarino. If not Harrington, then
Okay.
like, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like you'd have to give up you'd have to give up a top 5 prospect at least, and then plus for a Rosarina. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I put Winker on the top of my list just because, like, how much of our load do we, as Cody likes to say, how much of our load do we really want to blow this trade deadline? Like, I've got 4 guys I'm targeting here, right? I only have so many prospects to trade, so Winker would be my target here, just because I think he fills a need. He's a huge bat for your lineup. Like I said, he's having a good year. Like the 801 OPS, gets on base a ton, slugging 425. He's everything that we don't have in a right fielder or a corner outfielder right now. Reynolds is obviously great offensively, but the other outfield spot is just bad. So yeah, Winker's who I would target out of this list. But I would kick the tires on the Rosarina for sure.
I think that's fair, and I think that Winker's probably, and this is all outside looking in, we don't know these guys, but I think Winker is probably another good clubhouse guy, just based upon everything I've seen, just kind of watching him throughout the years. Seems like a guy that would fit well with this clubhouse.
Yeah. I can't
Possibly.
speak too much on that. What I will say though, Winker, absolutely not good defensively as well. So
Correct.
like this is kind of the point I'm getting with here also. If you want to go Brent Rooker, who's bad defensively also. And again, I mentioned I feel like you have to get a center fielder, but the cost of Rooker is going to cost a lot. So like, is it wise to go all in with Rooker and give up top prospects to land him and have this terrible defense? Or is it smarter to upgrade 2 positions and go a Jazz and a rental? Like, what if you got a Jazz and a Winker? That to me is going to cost you less than what one Rooker is going to do. You upgrade 2 positions. You're still better defensively now. Also, you know, like to me, that's more sound. You've upgraded, you less than cost, as far as prospect capital, and you're just now a more sound team as well. The corners are bad, but at least you have Jazz in there to, help either side out a little bit more. And you know what? Paul Skeens isn't pissed off when his offense gives him 0 runs in the 9th inning, and Brent Rooker can't get to an easy pop-up, and now the Atlanta Braves win the wild card. You know what I mean? Like that's part of it. So like that's what I'm alluding to here. I don't mind Brent Rooker, but I feel like the cost of getting him, it's just going to be wiser to go get a Jazz and a Winker for less and upgrade, 2 spots in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at. And when it comes to rentals, I just wanted to kind of, this is last year's trade deadline, by the way, right? These are some just comparable trades as far as rental bats go. And it's 2 guys who are actually on the slide, right? So like last year, the Diamondbacks got Tommy Pham for Jeremy Rodriguez, right? Someone who would be like an equivalent to Jeremy Rodriguez in the Pirate system. If you watch Starbucks, we talked about him, I think, last week. Carlos Caro, right? That's kind of like the Pirates equivalent to that. The Brewers got Mark Hanna last year for Justin Jarvis. Pirates equivalent there, Luis Peralta. So like you can acquire a rental corner outfielder for someone who's really like not going to hurt you in your farm system whatsoever. So I think
So
that's where I
Even better
stand.
not.
That's where I stand with those rental bats.
So I guess my question there after seeing this here would be, would you guys think that they would be better off going corner outfield rental wise rather than investing a little bit more in a Jazz, or just go get one of them rental bats that might put up better numbers offensively than Jazz?
Oh, I'm saying get both.
Well, I know you're saying get both, but
No, like they
this is
need to
not
get
a
both.
perfect world here.
Right. I'm saying they need to get both. Like getting one of these two is going to be fine, but like they need to get both. They need to get Jazz and they need to get a corner outfield bat. Because I don't want to see Jack Sawinski anymore. Like I don't. I don't want to see Jack Sawinski. Like that. I don't want to see Joshua Palacios. I love those guys. I said Jack Sawinski was going to be an all-star. Joshua Palacios, love his vibes. Love him. But like they need guys who are going to win them baseball games. And they need two guys from these last two slides.
I feel like there's a lot of options, a lot of ways they can go. And like whatever the first foot drops is going to lead them to the rest, because again, like I would love Randy or Rosarena, but I don't think a Randy and a Jazz is going to happen. And if you get a Randy, I don't think there's another center fielder that you feel real good with and getting, you know what I mean? So I don't know if you get a Randy, you're getting two guys.
Yeah. There's not really
Maybe
a
you get
rental center
Fam.
fielder.
Maybe you get Fam and he can play there, and that's
Yeah.
like a rental in a sense. But like outside of that, I think Fam's it for me that can play center that I want, like as far as like another rental or such. So that's kind of the problem. It's like that, and that's why Jazz is so perfect, because if you get Jazz, you've solved center field. He's also controllable because, to your point, Tyler, there's also, so what are you going to do next year after the rentals? And I get like they're okay as far as cost goes, right? Like it doesn't cost anything to get the rentals as far as prospects typically. So whatever, but like next year, you got to get that person again. And that's where like I agree with Mackie talked about that. Like you're not going to, like, why pay for a position twice? This is where I see both sides of it. This is why I want someone who is controllable, but also a rental. I want someone who's controllable. I want someone that you want. I want a Randy. I want a Jazz. You're going to need an outfielder next year as well. So get the guy now, have it for next year, go make a run this year and have that, but then also get the rental to make yourself better. And then you can worry about in the offseason again, if you want to replace that. There's just free agency or whatever. So I think to me, it comes down to whether they get Jazz, Randy, or Rooker. If they get Jazz, go get a Winker, go get a Lane Thomas, go get a Tommy Pham. But if they get Randy or Rooker, I still think they need to get a center fielder, and I don't think they're going to go out and get a Jazz also. So it might be Tommy Pham maybe, or nothing at all.
Yeah, so I think the reason that I led this thing by saying Brent Rooker was because it makes Michael A. Taylor maybe a little bit more valuable, because you can play him every day in center field, and you're going to need a guy like Michael A. Taylor in center field at that point, just to deal with what's going on in right field, what's going on in left field. And Michael A. Taylor, I think, is due for some positive regression, not great positive regression, like maybe to the point where he's not. No, that's actually a lie as well. He might become an really bad offensive player, but I think you can live with that just a touch more if you have a Brent Rooker and a Brian Reynolds in right and left field. And also, I think it's more feasible for the Pirates, because I do feel like they're not going to go out and get a Jazz and a Brent Rooker, or a Jazz, or whatever other scenarios we want to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, these are like the two main positions here, and I think you can attack them different ways. And Michael A. Taylor is interesting in that I think depending on which way you go here, it determines like what you do with him. Because if you go Jazz, then there's really no reason to have Michael A. Taylor on this team.
Right.
But if you want to piece together like a Tommy Pham, Jesse Winker type situation, then there's room for Taylor, right? I also think Taylor is someone who, if you do land Jazz, you could probably trade Taylor to a contender who needs a late inning defensive outfield replacement. There's plenty of teams out there who would welcome a Michael A. Taylor as a fifth outfielder to bring in for defensive purposes. Like good teams, Michael A. Taylor, I feel like is a better fit for like a really good team than he is for a team like the Pirates, which is weird to say because it's he hasn't played well, but like he has one really good skill. And sometimes when you're a really good team, you're missing one thing in particular, and that one thing could be really good center field defense, right? So I think if you land Jazz, Taylor has some value for someone else. If you go like the Winker Pham route, then maybe you hold on to Taylor because you then need that outfield defense.
Yeah. Let me add on to your point here, because you make a very good point. I wanted to make sure we brought this up too. He does have value. Like if you get Chisholm, you can absolutely trade him, I feel like, because we're the inverse of it. The Pirates need offense and they have bad defenders. But if you're a team that has really two good offensive corner outfield and your center fielder is just bad defensively, like you need to upgrade on defense. That's what they're looking into. Gerard Dyson was traded to the White Sox for international money, $500,000. He was light years worse than Michael A. Taylor. The White Sox says, you know what? We'll trade some international money. We'll take Gerard Dyson because he gives us that defense. He has some speed. He can be, on the bases if needed, which Michael A. Taylor can as well. Like I find them very similar in that sense. And if it's some teams, if I'm a contender and that's what I need, and it's only going to cost me international money, maybe, or who knows what, hey, you unloaded that salary. So now you also ease in Jazz, who's half his contract.
Yep. Yeah, these are the two positions I think need addressed the most. Do we want to talk about utility infield?
Sure.
Sure.
Why not? Let's see all 11 of those slides.
Let's just see the slides.
So here's my next thing. And this is really honestly just to replace Jared Triolo. Like think of this as
Okay.
we need to replace Jared Triolo. There's two options. Ahmed Rosario, who's a rental. Paul DeYoung, another rental. Neither would cost almost anything. Ahmed Rosario's having a pretty good year offensively. He's hitting for average, not a whole lot more than that, but he can play third base, shortstop, second base. So he can play those positions that Triolo plays. He can also, again, like if Brian Hayes needs to sit for a bit, you feel comfortable throwing Rosario in the lineup for a couple days, where as opposed to Jared Triolo. So like Ahmed Rosario, another guy who like I'm a big fan of. Now, defensively, Rosario leaves a lot to be desired. What Jeremy says, what's the outs above average on the Rosario page? It's -6. He's not a great defender. But he can play multiple positions. He can at least do it in a way that's, I don't know, I guess he's a body and he's played the positions before basically, but offensively a lot better from a value standpoint, better than Jared Triolo. Again, we talked about Triolo. He's been one of the worst hitters in baseball. So Rosario is my number one choice. Paul DeYoung, number 2, and DeYoung's the same thing. He can play third, he can play short, he can play second. Having a pretty decent season, honestly. But again, another rental. Neither of these guys would cost hardly anything and would be pretty clear upgrades over Triolo. And then again, would be somebody who you would feel comfortable plugging into third base if you need him to.
Rosario was signed for dirt cheap this offseason. I remember talking a decent length about it. Yeah, he's batting 306, Jim. Like you say, a little bit above. He has a 114 weighted runs created plus. He's batting 306. This is a guy who doesn't walk, but he hits for average. He doesn't strike out as well. He puts the ball in play. I look at this also. You said about like playing third base if Cabron, whatever. I kind of look at this as, you know what, this is a good bench bat.
Yeah.
Like think about this. This offense is so bad, and even they do upgrade, in the outfield, your bench is still much to be desired. If you're looking at Rosario as just, I mean, it's not going to cost you much to begin with to acquire, but yeah, he can play some positions if needed. I know the defense isn't good too, but like that's a really good bench bat to have. Also, the guy puts the ball in play. That's something the Pirates just simply don't do enough. Tyler talks about time and time again. So like I think it's a good fit in that sense. Also, it's not that I'm running to get Rosario, but I think if they made that trade, that definitely makes his team better.
The other thing too to consider, a lot of this fielding, the fielding issues with Rosario have been when they've put him in the outfield. Like he's a pretty decent infielder overall.
There you go.
So I don't really love either of these options. I don't really know if I want to acquire either of them, but if I have a choice, I'm probably going to ride more with DeYoung. The defense is really good there. And you also get a little bit of pop out of him. He can play shortstop really well. Again, you might get some of that Cardinal Devil magic. Rosario just does nothing for me anymore. I think his time has passed. I have no interest in him whatsoever.
Well, okay then.
All right.
I literally have no
What was it?
interest in that guy.
I that's what I mean. There's two names on here.
Yeah.
And I think both would be very good upgrades to that bench.
Yeah, but so would I.
And yeah. So when you say like, oh no, Triolo's in the lineup again, like you don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Like you've got real major leaguers in there coming off of your bench.
Yeah, and the sad part is both of these guys would be upgrades over not even Jared Triolo, over Cabrian Hayes.
Yeah, sadly. Offensively, at least. Hayes does bring you a lot of value defensively, but I also want to point this out.
DeYoung would probably be an upgrade.
I also want to point this out. Both of these guys were traded last year at the deadline. So we have a pretty good idea of like what they cost. The Dodgers got Ahmed Rosario for Noah Syndergaard in cash. So let's just face it. Cleveland gave the Dodgers Ahmed Rosario last year, right? Like just said, hey, here you go. The Blue Jays got Paul DeYoung and cash from the Cardinals for a 26-year-old AA reliever. So like literally pick an Altoona reliever and send them to the White Sox for Paul DeYoung. So neither of these two guys would make a dent, in your farm system. And yeah, I think both of these guys are pretty decent upgrades to the team.
I think Martin Perez would be an overpay.
Yeah, Martin Perez is significantly better than Noah Syndergaard.
You know what the conclusion I'm coming to here, Jim, is that you can acquire like some maybe below average to average major leaguers for nothing.
Yeah.
And those are useful.
Absolutely.
Yep. Again, like the Dodgers and the Blue Jays got these guys last year.
Yeah.
There was a reason for it.
But Bucko Mike, 17 home runs from Paul DeYoung. Like,
yeah, the power is definitely there this year for DeYoung. All right.
I mean, he's still a pretty good defender.
Last thing I've got is left-handed reliever.
Love it.
Tanner Scott's the pie in the sky. I think if Tanner Scott's the guy that if you can get him, then you can afford to trade Chapman, right? Because he's better than Chapman.
Okay.
so like that's kind of where I'm at there. That second group of players though, Garrett Clevenger, Andrew Chafin, Brent Sutter, all pretty solid lefties out of the bullpen that I would throw out there in the middle innings, 10 out of 10 games, right? Like you feel pretty comfortable with those guys. And then I've also got Tanner Banks in there, who's got quite a bit of years of control in there. I I think this is just something. This is just more. I'm a big Ryan Barucki guy, but I'm just kind of concerned that there's something up there. He hasn't pitched since April. His rehab again, it's taken forever. So if he does come back, I think it still is beneficial to have another lefty in that bullpen because right now they have Chapman and Fleming, right? So another lefty, I think, could help out this team quite a bit. So yeah, this is my list right here. And if I'm the Pirates, yeah, like Tanner Scott's there. He's probably costing quite a bit. Andrew Chafin's probably the guy that I'm looking at the most.
You just hate Northeast Ohio guys, don't you? Tanner Scott's from my neck of the woods.
So what do you think? Do you think the bullpen needs a lefty arm, or are you cool just saying, you know what, Brucky's coming back soon?
I want the Darter's opinion on this.
So from my understanding, it's a nerve with Barucki. It's just like, I guess what Charrington said more or less is like, you just don't know how long it's going to take. And that's why he's really not here. Like, that's why he was up at PNC. We thought he was coming back, but he was there just to get looked at. So I don't want to say like I'm worried, but I feel like I don't know if I can fully trust that he's going to be back. He is back. I assume he will, but this is also the time of the year where every team stacks up on their bullpen. Like, that's just what you do. And they typically don't cost a ton. Now, the good controllable ones will. So, like, to your point, like Tanner Scott's going to cost a bit. Now, I don't know. Maybe you can package if you're going to get a
Tanner
Jazz.
Scott would be a rental.
He's a rental.
But he's gonna cost more than the rest. So like maybe
he's going to cost the most. Yeah.
Is he?
He's really good.
I know, but Chafin has another
the
year
best
of-
reliever in baseball.
Chafin has a club option. That's
He
what
does.
I put yeah.
Sorry.
So if you're doing something with Jazz, maybe you work a prospect package out that you are able to get both of them. But if you want to go a little bit cheaper and upgrade, like I feel like you're talking about, you can go to the rest of them. And the thing is, the Pirates are set up. They have such a good back end part. Like, I don't think they need the Tanner Scott. That's a luxury. And I agree. Like, if they do, they're maybe looking to move a Chapman, which again, all you're doing is replacing. You're not truly adding. So like, I feel like you could probably get one of the next three fairly cheap for a prospect that you're not even talking or discussing, in some years. And, you're able to get better, you lengthen it. But like, think about this. You have Bednar, you have Holderman, you have Chapman. Majinski's showing me every bit I'm fully confident. I mean, there's 4 dudes in the back end of that bullpen that you feel good about. So like, I don't think they need to invest that much into a Tanner Scott for what he would cost. But I'm definitely not opposed to adding another lefty because I would feel better with that lefty opposed to Fleming.
So I think at some point during this, you asked about trading Chapman there, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually probably hang on to Chapman and go get one of these types of guys. And the reason I say that is because the bullpen was supposed to be a strength of this team. It's turned into maybe more of a normalcy. It's fine. It's probably middle of the road. But lefty wise, they do leave something to be desired. Tanner Scott would help a heck of a lot. Chafin's another name that I'd love to have. But pitching is attrition, man. And we're watching guys drop left and right. And it's a lot of starting pitching right now. We talked about during the offseason that this team needs to shorten games and maybe get to your bullpen in the 6th inning. I know Carmen Majinski's looked really good, but if you can get one more arm in this bullpen, you just turn this thing into a super strength. I like Chafin a lot. I like Tanner Scott a lot. Actually, I like all these guys on the list a lot. I'll take any of them at this point. I kind of like the idea of adding to a potential strength here because it is a potential strength. I think it's a strength of the team right now, but if you add one more piece to it, you're really close. You add one more, I think you're there.
Just some
There
lefty
you go.
relievers who got traded last year's deadline. Braves got Brad Hand for Alec Barger, which is, again, pick an Altoona curve relief pitcher and send them, right? The Dodgers, Ryan Yarbrough for Devin Mann and Derlin Figueroa. This would probably cost a little bit more. I mean, that Ryan Yarbrough's, pretty good. So Pirates equivalent to that would be like Sung Si Chang and Royny Aguiar. And again, this was the big one. The Rangers got Chapman for Cole Reagans and Rony Cabrera. The thing you have to remember about Cole Reagans, though, when he was acquired, he was a 26-year-old reliever with like a 6 ERA. He wasn't the Cole Reagans that we know now. But Pirates equivalent to that would be like Patrick Riley and Carlos Caro. So a little bit more of a dent in your system if you want to go after that like elite lefty bullpen arm. But I think any of those guys in the middle wouldn't cost very much.
Yep. And that's where I'm at. Like, again, Patrick Riley, end of the day, might not be anything, but there's definitely more intrigue in him than the rest. And so, like, do you need Tanner Scott to give up Patrick Riley? Which, honestly, he might even be more than that package, than the Chapman package of last year. The way he's pitching right now, and even cheaper. I assume he's cheaper, actually. But anyways, yeah, it's like, again, that's where I'm at. Do I think Charrington needs to give up Patrick Riley for Tanner Scott, or just give up some Altoona reliever for a Brad Hand? I think that's probably the route that he would go, and that you don't really need the Tanner Scott, so go get the Brad Hand, who's very good too.
Yeah, I do think that the bullpen would be a easy upgrade for this team.
Yes. You're on mute, Jim.
So any other positions or players that we haven't discussed that we'd like to kind of go over? Because I do have 4 mock trades.
Oh,
I'll put together 4.
Do you have a Andrew Nardi just because of the name?
Yeah,
also, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good too.
He's got some good stuff. Plus,
Andrew Nardi is just like way better than Rocco De Niro.
Way better than Rocco.
I don't really have anyone else. I just want to add here too. As I said it before, and since we talked about the trade deadline, I fully believe the Pirates should look into dealing Martin Perez. It just makes sense. I know this is you never have enough arms, but to a degree, there's a lot of arms, and I think he's destined for the bullpen because he's going to be the odd man out, and you already have a $10.5 million Chapman. Like, are the Pirates going to sit there and look at this bullpen and say, "Hey, let's give $10.5 million to Chapman and $8 million to Martin Perez"? I doubt it. I feel like they are going to dump him, and in doing so, they relieve some salary, and that's what allows them to add all these additional pieces that we're talking about. So that's why I think it's going to be wise that they do trade Martin Perez. So again, back to that buying and selling thing. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could trade Perez for the equivalent of somebody that you could trade for
Baton Rouge AA reliever.
or say, yeah, like you could trade Perez for somebody. Like they traded Rich Hill last year for like a real prospect. Like they got Easter Suaro out of it, and like is a real prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed up Jackson, but either way, I think Perez would be a decent option there. Just to go back to the Neil Huntington, like financial flexibility. It sounds terrible, but there are moves that you could probably make with that salary that you're paying Martin Perez right now. And is there really a drop off from Perez to Quinn Priester? Maybe, but I don't know.
I doubt it.
I don't think it's much.
But correct. Like, if that's how you need to sell it to Bob Nutting, I want to bring in Jazz and Winker and Rosario and whatever. But don't worry, it's not going to cost you anything because I can trade away Martin Perez. There you go. You made your team better. You're using the financial flexibility. That's the difference. You're not dumping them. You're not dumping Liriano and not doing anything with the money later, right? You're using it. So that's why it's not a swear word on this show.
Yeah. So they're in a weird spot, I think, where a spot we haven't seen them in. They can deal some money here and actually improve the team right now. And I don't know that we've really seen that in a long time.
All right, we want to see some trades and discuss them.
Show us.
All right, here's my outfielders.
Okay.
Jazz
I remember
Chisholm.
this graphic.
Jazz Chisholm for Braxton Ashcraft, Kiner Delgado, and Michael Kennedy.
Send it.
It's given up a lot. I really like Braxton Ashcraft. I think he's going to be a good back end starter. Kiner Delgado was a legit return that you got for JT Brubaker, and he's been playing really well in the lower minors. But he's also like really far away, right? But he's one of those he's one of those pieces that if you're the Marlins, he's an attractive piece. He's got a ton of talent. He's crushing the ball in the low minors. You can kind of develop him as he goes along. So I'm throwing Delgado in there, and then I'm throwing in another pitcher, which is Michael Kennedy. I like Michael Kennedy a lot too. But he's a guy that you can give up, right? And because you've got a lot of arms that you've been able to develop successfully. And I think to land Jazz Chisholm, I think a deal like this gets it done. Like, I think this is plenty of value going back to Miami, and this is plenty of value going back to Pittsburgh. One of the reasons why you have prospects is to trade them for major league talent, and this is a nice return for Miami. But yeah, I think something like this gets it done. Like, maybe not the exact names, but like the same caliber. But that's the route I would go for Jazz. And then I have the Winker trade up here too, which is just Winker for Carlos Caro. Murphy saying one of the issues is, arm injuries, which, yeah, you'll have to kind of deal with that. You can do player to be named later if you need to. But again, I'm talking more like caliber type players. Yeah, that's kind of that would be like what a package would look like for Jazz, in my opinion.
I mean, I take that. I would take that trade all day.
So, like, that specific trade, absolutely. Do I like Ashcraft? Absolutely. But do I like Jazz? Absolutely. And he's here now, and it's for a need. Where Ashcraft, I like, but you know what? This team is loaded with pitching right now. Like, he's replaceable in that sense because there's Bubba, there's Hunter, like there's Barco, there's Thomas Harrington. Like, you just go down this list of pitchers. You can live with not having an Ashcraft because now you have Jazz. And just talk about the package in itself, like that type of a package, right? Could be different players or whatnot. Yes, you make that deal because I don't look at this farm system now and say, "Oh man, it's depleted." Our window's now 2 years once Jazz is gone because we've lost everything. You're still loaded. You still, there's still plenty of pipeline here, especially on the pitching side. I'm making that deal right now because that gets me in a position that I can get into the playoffs today. I can get into the playoffs next year, potentially the year after that even. So go do it. And yeah, with Winker, no question.
Yeah. I mean, with Winker, just pick one. Like any of the rentals, just pick one. Pick the guy you want and then beat the other team. It's really where it's at. Jazz, I like Braxton Ashcraft a lot. Like, the fastball has a lot of life. He found it, and it's tough to give up on him. But at the same time, like, you get a major league caliber player, I think you have to take it for Braxton Ashcraft right now because he's probably, other than Bubba and Tamar, your best trade chip right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, this is giving up a lot. You hope that obviously he gets healthy because I think he is a trade piece. But again, you could always kind of utilize the player to be named later situation if you need to, if it's just something that's pretty minor. But yeah, I think you're looking at something like this, and I think this is a fair price for Jazz.
Yes.
Would you go above that? Is my question.
I guess it depends on like how far above. Like if you want to swap Michael Kennedy for Xander Meath or something like that, sure.
Yeah. Would you go above Ashcraft?
So then you're getting into Termar or Bubba.
Yeah.
Those are the only two that
right. But would you
could
go
even say
there?
you're above them? I would include. I would say no. It's not worth it. I don't think anybody's going to beat that either.
Yeah,
I think
tough.
if
it's not
if Ashcraft is your headliner and you're throwing in two more like top 15 guys in the Pirates system, which is what this is, that's a good deal. I think that's a good deal for Miami.
And I also want to throw in too, like this is shaping up to be a seller's market also. So like it might cost a little bit more than normal years too. And I think what this is showing, like, I don't know if I would go above it too. Like, as much as I want Jazz, I don't know if I'm giving up Tamar. It's not Bubba. It's certainly not Bubba for a Jazz. So is it a Tamar? I don't think I can do that. And that's where, again, like, if I'm giving up a Tamar, I'm going after Randy.
See, no, if I'm giving up Tamar, I'm going after Lou Bob.
Well, that too.
I'm not going.
But, like, that's my point. Like,
Randy
it's
and Tamar
that's
are
not on Jazz. And that's the mindset. You know, like with the Rookers and such, it's like if I have to give up whatever for that person, I'll just get someone better. So, yeah, Ashcraft is probably where I'm capping it with Jazz, but also Ashcraft is an easier pill to swallow because of the pipeline of pitching you have. Like this is a deal too, where Ashcraft could come out and be that dude, and you air quotes lose the trade. But at the end of the day, this has suited both teams. You got better today where you needed to be, and it's fine to lose that trade. We're not talking Chris Archer levels. We don't want to lose it that bad, you know. But like if Jazz is still what he is, and it's just because it's not because Jazz falls off, it's because Ashcraft turns into that dude, I'd be okay with it.
The Winker trade I have on here too. That's just to kind of give you, like, I think that's all it would take to get somebody like that.
Yeah.
And I like Carlos Caro. Like, you know, Murphy's been on Starbucks talking about him, and there's a lot to like about him. He's young. He's 19 years old. He's hitting basically 300, getting on base, slugging the ball. Like he's a good looking prospect. But again, one of those guys like so far away from the majors. I do that deal for Winker 10 out of 10 times. And if you're the Nationals, you're adding a lottery ticket to your system who's done nothing but hit everywhere he's been.
Yep. Next.
All right, here we go. Andrew Chafin for Tyler Samaniego. Samani, I don't even know how you pronounce it, but he's a reliever for Altoona. And then I've got Ahmed Rosario.
Not going to work here anymore.
I've got Ahmed Rosario for Dominic Parachi. Dominic Parachi just had a dominant start tonight, by the way, for Altoona. He just got promoted. We highlighted him on Starbucks a couple weeks ago. He was just dominating Greensboro, got promoted to Altoona, has had a kind of a shaky start to Altoona, but dominated tonight for the Curve. So An arm that the Rays, I feel like, would like to have in their system. They could do what they do with him. Murphy says Nola's not gonna be happy about trading Parachi, but I think I think something like this is completely in line. And again, these are just like caliber of players I'm talking about. Oh, he's still with Greensboro. My bad. But he did have a really, really good outing today. So yeah, those are the type of players I'm looking at dealing for this. And these are two guys you acquire and you get better. And it's not really affecting you too much.
Just like my thing is on these rentals, yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Parachi, by the way, he struck out 11 today in 6 one-hit innings for Greensboro.
How many did he walk though?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
haven't looked. I'm asking because I do want to know, but like also because I'm waiting for like 7 to be the number.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Harry says we should address the Jazz for Ashcraft Davis rumor. That's not a rumor. That's just something that somebody threw out on Twitter. So I just want to. That's me addressing it. That's what we're doing. We're just throwing out names. But
Yes.
But yeah, no. As far as this goes, these are again that you're getting Jazz, you're getting Winker, you're getting Chafin, you're getting Rosario, and really the only you're giving up some painful stuff for Jazz. But the rest are all pretty easily attainable.
Yeah. I think a lot of these rental type of guys, you're just, what do you want? Okay. Have it.
Yep. Also, just kind of throw out there. So, like the AJ Puck deal. I mean, he's controllable a lot of years still with him. And he's older too, but like he cost the Diamondbacks their number 14th prospect. Dave Eisen or Davison? De Los Santos? Devison? Okay. 21-year-old in AAA. First third
Crushing
base.
the ball.
So
yeah, Marlon's got a good return there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it'll come back to bite you, like Tony Watson and Neil Cruz, but yeah. In this situation, you gotta take the risk.
Yeah, that one was kind of crazy though.
I don't know if it's been explained enough, but in our lifetime, this is the window. You have Paul Skeens. You have a window right now.
And it might be
Garrett Cole was supposed
4
to be the
years.
window. Paul Skeens is the actual window. This is the only window I'm probably going to have in my lifetime to win a World Series. You might think I'm crazy for that, but
I mean, you're never
this
going
is
to
the
get
window.
You're never going to get a better pitcher on
No.
your team. Ever.
And every day that you aren't getting better, you're wasting time.
And as Dave says, yes, the window includes this season. It's now. It's literally now. And again, another stat I point out, I mean, just to kind of understand this. Oh God. Maybe you guys should go.
I don't know where you're going with it.
Trying to find my numbers.
Oh, good Lord. Either way, like this is the only window I will probably see in my
Here it
lifetime.
is. Since June 1st, Pirates 25th in offense. Since June 1st, the Pirates are 26-19. They've outscored their opponents 195 runs to 170. 25th in offense. Like that's the point that we're trying to talk. Make you guys understand. It doesn't take a whole lot to make this team better. They are 26-19 since June 1st, being the 25th best offense. This team just gets all they really have to do. I guess what I'm alluding to is like all they really need to do is find a couple more bats to eliminate the games that they score less than 2 runs. You know what I mean? Which they also, as I put there, of all the teams fighting a wild card, what was it, 23% of the time, all their games have been 2 runs. I'm sorry, under 2 runs. 23% of their games under 2 runs when most teams are sitting like around the 15, 16%. They can just find a way to score more than 2 runs more consistently. That's all we're asking. Think about how much more better they'd be than 26-19.
Yeah, I mean, this team is, the pitching is good enough. Like we said plenty of times, that if you can just get this offense rolling a little bit more consistently, they're a playoff team. Like, plain and simple, they are a playoff team. That number you just, what was it, 27 and what?
26-19.
26 and 19 in your last 45 games.
Yes.
Okay. 26 and 19 in your last 45 games. If you just do that from here on out, like, you're probably in the playoffs. But you want to push it, right? You want to make sure that you do that. So yeah, go out there and get some help. The thing I like about these trades is there's options out there just for short-term help, and the short-term help's not going to cost you a whole lot. There's some options out there for some more long-term help, and I think that is going to cost you a little bit more. But that's the reason why you've been terrible for 4 straight years, is so when this time came, you had the prospect capital to be able to deal from a position of strength so that you can address the weaknesses on your major league team. So now's the time. Now's the time to do it. And I'm not saying like you got to go crazy. Like, none of this. I have someone mentioned, is there anybody who you would trade Bubba Charrington for, like a realistic option? And the answer is no. Like, I'm not trading Bubba Chandler.
A really good player.
Bubba Chandler. Someone
Did he say Bubba Charrington?
Someone
I didn't hear.
Someone asked if I would trade Bubba Chandler for anybody realistic. And no, like, the answer is no, I wouldn't.
I would.
So like, you're holding on to Bubba, you're holding on to Termar, you're holding on to Connor Griffin, you're holding on to Thomas Harrington, and all of these situations. And if you can get through this trade deadline and make significant additions to your team while not having to really deal any of those guys, you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I would trade Bubba for Lou Bob tomorrow. But I generally agree with you that Termar and Bubba are probably off limits unless it's some sort of guy that's going to really change the outcome of this team. Rental-wise, it's probably more feasible for them, but they have to improve somehow because, again, the window is right now, and somehow this team has climbed their way back into it. Go get it.
Yeah. My short answer for that is you could probably thank Anthony Murphy, talking about him often on Starbucks. I'm falling more and more in love with Bubba and his potential. And I think, to your point, Tyler, if they traded Bubba for Lou Bob, I wouldn't be sad or disappointed. Also, this isn't a short answer, clearly. But I kind of feel like if that's what the cost is, then let me divert and get the Jazz for the Ashcraft. Still have Bubba, because I feel like what his potential is more. It's worth more to him being a Pirate than to get Lou Bob, even if it means being better this year. Jazz gets you better this year. You still have Bubba Chandler, and that ceiling is so high. And if you're thinking about what this rotation is this year, it's like, well, damn, what could it be in the next few years? And I know it's process like this. I know it's prospects. I know they don't always pin out whatever, but I think he's on that trajectory. I think you could get more than a Lou Bob if you really wanted to trade him at some point. If he ends up being the next Jared Jones, are you trading Jared Jones for Louis Robert right now?
I think this is more of a conversation for another night when we're not an hour and 30 in, but
Sure.
there are legitimate discussions to be made about what you're giving up for guys. And I just, my short answer, which will actually be a short answer, is that Jared Jones doesn't happen every day. It happens very rarely.
True. But Paul Skeens and Jared Jones also happens very rarely, and it happened.
Yeah. So again, lifetime window right here.
What if it happens again? Anywho, let's move on.
Then there is a God.
He
There's a
loves the
baseball god
Pirates.
somewhere, man. He's finally raining down on me.
Is that everything then?
Are we done with the slideshow? No more?
Was that 11?
Yeah, I'm all done. Yeah.
No, that was an
Is your
awesome
11 pieces
slideshow,
of
actually.
flair?
I
The
want
people in the Discord are hating on my Jazz Chisholm trade offer. They said that it's nowhere near enough.
It
Good.
might not be. That's why I said I'd take it tomorrow.
I feel like the top piece though, like Ashcraft,
You
I'm
know
not
what?
budging. But
Just to touch on it real
the
quick.
middle pieces, I can move on.
Sorry. But just to touch on it real quick, I feel like people overrate prospects anymore and overrate trades. These trades aren't as extreme as they were at one point. Like, teams really do hold on to prospects.
Mhm. Yeah.
You're not giving up your top prospect for anything anymore.
Unless you're Dave Dombrowski.
You know,
Yeah, there's not too like you don't see it often. All those trades that the Padres made over these last few years, they even held on to their top guys,
yeah.
and they
Outside
got
of Soto.
bigger names. You know,
Even the Soto deal, it wasn't
even the Soto deal, like they didn't give
outrageous.
up, like they didn't give up their top guys
At that
like, they
time.
didn't give up. Yeah, like they still held on to Merrill. They still held on to Ethan Salas. That was super high. That like they held on to their top guys.
Also, appointment hammering time and time again. You can just keep turning it over. Prella's been a god at making deals. All right, let's get out of here then. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Ryan and I on the post-game show talking about this Pirates 53rd win heading into the trade deadline.
Murphy correcting me. They hadn't signed Salas yet.
By the way, he's there. You can trade, and Padres still have a top farm system. And look at all the guys they've gotten by using that prospect capital. It can be done. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Again, as always, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like if you're watching the YouTube. Everyone on Instagram, we went live on Instagram today. So thank you all for joining as well. And listen to the podcast. Appreciate the review as well. All good. But we'll be back later. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Peace out, Scouts.
See you guys.
Hey, you all. Thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.